This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. In March, I released this episode called 332K of revenue with over 2 months off. And in that episode, which was about my year in review of 2022, in that episode, I sneaked in there that I have been doing some trauma healing and that it's really changed the way that I'm thinking about and running my business and just experiencing my business. And then many of you reached out and said that you wanted to hear more about that and that it resonated with you. And so I wanted to share more about that right now. So healing trauma, it's not a binary thing for me of being completely unhealed and then being completely healed. I am still absolutely on a journey, and I had done some trauma healing earlier times in my life, but I've definitely been in a profound, really expansive kind of trauma healing in the last several months. And just about everything in my life has really opened up and changed, and my relationships have been getting much closer. I'm not living in hypervigilance moment to moment. Anxiety still comes up, but now I wouldn't say that I'm an anxious person. I wouldn't identify myself as constantly living with anxiety. Now that I have something to compare it to, now that I have this new state to compare my old state to. So with the people close to me, I have a lot of moments where I say, oh, this is a new Annie moment. This is the new version of me and how I'm experiencing something really differently, or I'm even behaving really differently than I would have before this layer of trauma healing. Some things in my business have really changed too, like right away. I realized I had been creating an experience without meaning to, without even being aware of it, where I was constantly trying to protect myself from difficult feelings by managing everyone else, or trying to manage everyone else. I was trying to feel some safety by controlling many, many things in my life, including the experiences of other people, including my clients and participants. So I was walking around feeling vulnerable and feeling like I had to hide my vulnerability at all times. So control of other people's experiences, or at least what I perceived of other people's experiences, that was really part of my armor and how I was creating a certain kind of safety for myself moment to moment. And now I don't want or need that level of armor. So as someone who was trained as a therapist for so many years, I kind of slotted into this way of doing things where I felt like what I was doing was just having really good boundaries and taking care of people by not burdening them with my own experience. But what I realize now is that I was actually trying to control other people's experiences. I was feeling responsible for how everyone in my programs was doing in every moment. So trying to make sure that everyone seemed happy and comfortable in every moment, and then also feeling really responsible for everybody's business success. If someone was feeling worried about their niche or worried about their pricing or, wasn't hitting their goals in the way that they wanted to, I immediately took that on as my responsibility. And now when someone's feeling worried about their niche or worried about their pricing or having a hard time hitting their goals, I don't immediately believe I must solve that for them or they're going to be mad at me, or I must solve that for them or they're not going to be okay. I now feel like I can be in this with you. I can walk through this with you, and I can let you have an uncomfortable moment in your business, because that is absolutely part of it. So you might think, well, if I'm not feeling responsible for other people's experiences and other people's success, then, maybe I'm just not doing as good of a job. But actually, it's making me better. I can be so much more honest now with people because I can let them take care of themselves. So that means I can tell people the truth about what I'm seeing, still in a kind way, but I can be so much more transparent and get right to the point of what I'm seeing in their business and their decisions so that they can make use of that and, decide what their next move is instead of me trying to manage everyone's feelings. So it's actually making me a better, more straightforward coach. Another weird thing is I used to sometimes feel impatient with my clients when they weren't doing the things that they needed to do for their business. And I think I probably hid that impatience pretty well. But, hopefully I didn't act impatient, but there was this inner feeling of impatience in me. Why aren't they doing things the way that they should be doing them or the way that they say they want to do them? And what I noticed is that in this next layer of trauma healing I'm not feeling impatient anymore. I am seeing my participants and clients more clearly. And they, just like me, live in nuance. And they don't want to have their work forced into a box that it doesn't really fit into. They don't want to take steps until they're feeling really aligned with those steps. And that's who I actually love working with, is people who want to create something that is incredibly important to them, high quality, full of nuance and magic, and that sometimes takes time. And so now that I can see you more clearly, I can see my participants more clearly, I am also enjoying the work even more. And I already really liked my job, but now I'm enjoying it without that level of pressure. So I still have all the tactics stuff that I can offer my participants and my clients. There's still like a step-by-step process to walk through, but I also am so much more offering the permission that people need to take this at your pace. Do the things that feel in alignment with you. Ask the questions, and I won't just pretend that I have patience for you. I really have it. So I just noticed I've ended up working with exactly who I'm meant to work with, which is people who value nuance. And when you value nuance, that means that building your business is not 100% linear. It's cyclical. It's going to go at the pace that it needs to go at, and it's going to zig and it's going to zag. If you wanted to fit your work into a predetermined box, you'd be satisfied with listening to a mainstream marketing guru. So that seems really obvious now, but working through this layer of trauma healing has made it so much more clear. There's also some really cool things that have been happening, like this morning. I was creating a podcast with my friend Podge Thomas. That's going to be the one that comes out after this one. We did a podcast about money and handling your personal finances in a new way. And there was a moment when I looked at our podcast recording and I wasn't sure if it was actually recording properly. I was not sure if my track was actually recording. And I said, hold on. We got to stop there. I need to check and see if this is recording. And once I know, we'll jump back in. And then I said to Podge, who totally knows what I'm going through, I said, this is a new Annie moment. I'm not in a flop sweat right now. I want this to have been recording. I don't want to be wasting your time, but I'm also not completely sweating and panicking right now. I know that we'll just work this out one way or the other. Old Annie would have been sweating, panicking, and trying to hide it. And so the new version of me is able to feel like, I don't want to waste Podge's time. She had been saying some incredible stuff I don't want to lose in the interview. And I know we're going to make it. I know we're going to be okay either way. So those kinds of cool experiences happen almost every day where I notice something different. Another thing that's changing is my ability to ask for help. I was having a difficult time a few weeks ago in my business, and some numbers were not landing the place that I wanted them to. And I was feeling really disappointed, really sad, and having a moment of despair. And I reached right out to some beloved colleagues and told them I was struggling. And they jumped on Zoom with me and I cried and they supported me and they helped me really see things a different way. And I would not have done that before. I would not have reached out in the moment when I was feeling vulnerable and asked for help. I would have waited until it was a little tidier. Maybe I would have just leaned on my real inner circle in that moment, like my partner, one or two best friends. But knowing I can reach out to colleagues who I trust and who I know really understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur and know what it's like to run programs and have all of these different things going on that folks who aren't entrepreneurs just haven't experienced. Being able to reach out to those colleagues and lean on them was so helpful and so healing. And I wouldn't have given myself that. Another way I'm different with my participants now is instead of trying to make everything perfect for them, I am now being really honest with them about what's going on. So I'm more transparent, just like I'm being in this podcast episode. I'm more transparent with them about what's going on in my own business closer to when it's happening. And what I'm aware of now is that me being really transparent about what's going on is actually modeling what I hope we will all do, which is to not show up trying to look perfect, not show up trying to look as if we don't stumble or we don't have life get in the way in certain moments. I want to model that we can serve at an incredibly high level while we are humans. So I just moved in the last couple of weeks. I moved from one apartment to a house within the same city. And there was no place that I could get on calls or recordings without moving boxes being in the frame. And so I just let it be that way. That's a small example of things that happen every day where we have an option to either hide what's actually going on or just let it be part of how we're doing our work and what we're sharing. And I want for us to be able to human while we're working. And so I would actually rather model that. And as I'm helping people create their own programs, I am really serving at a higher level if I'm modeling that. I really imagine it's going to be different for each one of us. And the thing that I want to keep asking myself and that I want to encourage you to ask yourself is, where is trauma showing up in the way you run your business? Like, where is trauma showing up in, if you've got a program, the way you run your program, the way that you think about your business, the things that you believe about your work? Where is it showing up? Where's trauma showing up? And how could you give yourself some permission to shift that? What could that look like? I'm imagining that for you, just like for me, it's probably only going to make you better at your job as you lean more and more into running things the way that feels truly good to you. And I'm going to leave it there. This was episode 200 of Rebel Therapist Podcast, which is just awesome and surprising that we got to 200 this way. If you want to get my help creating your signature program and selling it to the people who need it, head over to rebeltherapist.me/create and get on the wait list if it's not open for registration. There is going to be a really special offer coming soon. So that's rebeltherapist.me/create and get your name in on the wait list now. All right, I'll be back next time.